welcome to Bitstorm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Ben Slinger, and with me, as always, is Trevor Scott.
Hello.
Hello, Trevor. So, we are continuing our lockdown series here as we're locked down in Melbourne. Trevor, what are we going to do with lockdown as a constraint this week?
Physical locks. That was my idea.
Locks. So every game that we make has to involve an actual physical lock in some way.
Yeah. It could literally just be you're walking by a warehouse and there's a lock on the door. It could literally be that your main thing is that you've got an old lock that you're trying to find the key for. Mm-hmm. Like, somewhere in there's got to be a lock. Like,
I think that's enough of a constraint. Yeah. So that is the constraint we're using today on Click Pitch. And for those who might be joining us for the first time, Click Pitch is a game where we each have a random word generator in front of us. And on the count of 3, 2, 1, click, we will get a new word each, actually a new adjective and a noun each. And we will sort of throw them up in the air, fire our mind bullets at them, and see what they explode into. Mm-hmm. Hopefully a game that is fun to listen to and think about.
That would be good.
Let's do it.
Woods enlightenment.
Okay. Assorted phone.
Ooh.
Now,
lock screen. Done.
That's exactly what I was thinking of. I was going to say I'm immediately moving away from an actual physical lock to the lock screen on the phone. But no, I think that works. It could be
you found a phone in the woods.
You found a phone in the woods.
Mind powers.
Simpatico.
We just linked together and came up with the same idea.
I shot you with my mind bullets, Trevor.
Yep. Why'd you take out my eye? Okay.
You didn't need it anyway. You got another one. Yeah, so... Okay, so I'm thinking first person immediately, like just from the atmospheric point of view of sort of being in the woods, you sort of see a light, or, behind a tree.
Ooh, yes.
What is that coming from?
Someone is ringing the phone,
yes.
But as soon as you get there, it stops ringing.
Yep.
So all you see is a missed call, but it's that typical thing of you don't know the code to unlock it. You have to wait for some point in the game where you can either unlock it or someone else rings and you can answer the phone, but you've only got X number of time before the battery runs out, and then after that you've got...
Yeah, so are you... I'm thinking maybe you're camping in the woods, maybe with a few other people.
You're there for enlightenment, so you're there...
Oh, you think you're there by yourself?
By yourself, you're just sort of meditating and all this sort of stuff, and as you're sitting there, and you just hear, like, the typical Nokia tone of...
We really are on the same page tonight, Trevor. I was thinking exactly that.
Because that's what you want to hear, but...
It's someone who's just a retro. Yeah. They've got a retro ringtone. Okay. So does the game start and you're trying to meditate?
The game starts and you open your eyes. Or it starts in black.
Yep.
And it's like maybe you hear breathing, the heart rate's kind of low,
Or could we do something with some like colors on the screen, so you get these like nice calm colors animating with your heartbeat, with the breath coming in and out, and then all of a sudden you get this like bright pointy shapes on the screen as
magenta
as the ringtone shatters your calm.
It is so that magenta, horrible, the shader's gone missing color.
Yeah.
And it's poking you right in the eye. And that's when, you're just hearing the nasty tones of the Nokia 3110 or whatever it is, or 3310.
Infiltrate your calm, yeah.
And so, obviously, this is where... There's only really one way to sort of go. You sort of walk down a little path and it gets louder. I think for accessibility, because I'm really into that at the moment, you can basically have down the bottom with the subtitles that it's getting louder or quieter. You can sort of maybe see.
Yeah, or even an on-screen indicator you could have as a,
Yeah.
As an additional thing. I'm getting kind of a Firewatch vibe.
Yes.
That sort of level of immersion in your, like with the animation, that sort of thing of sort of your sense of being in this place. And even in the semi-stylized graphic, like textures and art style.
I'm seeing this as autumn, or for our American listeners, fall. There's just something about the colors of that with the red and the brown and the gold. It's just after summer is finished, and it's like the leaves have just turned and they're just starting to fall.
You're out there. You've like all the summer camping crowd have left because it's getting a little bit colder, but there's still enough heat left that it's not uncomfortable to be out there at night. And you go out there every year to center yourself. But this year, something's different.
Yeah, you find a phone.
A phone.
So, what happens with this phone? Is it...
Yeah, so do you think the whole time is spent at this camp place, like, trying to figure it out, and then we sort of push things happening that might... Maybe you can see text messages, like, because you'll get, like, the first sentence of a text message or something, and that might start giving you clues about whose phone this is, and the ability to...
The first text message says, "Jimmy, where's my money?"
Ooh, okay. ...
And it's just... That's gone down to the next line. So it's sort of like, oh, okay, this is Jimmy's phone.
It actually says, "Jimmy, where's my mon... ...
Yeah. So you're
they don't have a very
expecting
high
that it says money.
screen resolution.
You're expecting that it says money, but maybe...
It's in monitor. They left it there at a LAN party.
Jimmy, where's my monolith?
Jimmy, where's my monthly subscription to Maxim?
To Clio. I don't know. That's actually kind of funny. Like you can play around a bit with that sort of stuff.
Actually, I just really like the idea of messing with the player in that way. That all of the messages are leaning towards one interpretation. But when you finally get to unlock the phone, then you read through them and it's all completely innocent and different. Yeah.
But just one of them shows like 15 lines, and it's really going in detail into it. And it's like, what do you think of my short story? Right down the end.
I guess I'm picturing this very sort of atmospheric. How quickly is all this happening? Is this all over the course of a day, multiple days?
You said something that I kind of want to explore a little bit more, which was summer camp. Okay, and this is basically, I think this guy owns this summer camp.
Ooh, okay.
He's out in the woods, and he's just sort of like, the time's over. He's found a phone here, and he's thinking, this is either one of the campers or one of the counselors.
Counselors, yep.
But he doesn't remember there being a Jimmy here, and you can sort of go through the logs and that sort of stuff, and you start thinking, okay, what's actually going on here? You kind of thinking this doesn't match up with anyone that we had here. You hear over the radio like something about, an escaped mobster, Jimmy the gun, or something like that, and just him being alone, looking for that enlightenment. He's got, the whole camp to himself.
You know where my mind's kind of going now, though, right? With having all these camp counselor dossiers to look through as you're trying to match up whose phone this is and the relationships and things. It brings me to a very Obra Dinn kind of place.
Oh, yes.
Not the full-on... Yes. You provide many, many great jumping off points for our games. Not from the whole, obviously, like, trying to figure out who all... Like, it's not all about this identification, but yeah, like the messages are coming through and you're just getting snippets that you're then having to match up with, like, oh, could that be, you know, it's a name that starts with SU. Could that be, you know, the camper, the counselor, you know, Susie McDonald, or is it maybe, you know, are they talking about, you know, such and such, which actually does start with an SU, who's, you know, got a nickname or something though, Suds. They call him Suds, one of the kids, because he like, they played a prank on him and he had to run out of the shower naked, covered in suds.
Okay. I'm loving this idea. One of the early things is you have to go into lost property and try to find the charger that matches this type of phone. Because it's a different phone model to what you've got. Like,
yeah.
I'm thinking one of two ways. Either this phone model is, you know, like the Apple brand of this thing, and our lead character doesn't have Apple. He's got the Mandroid, or whatever we call it in this.
Mandroid. The phone for men.
It's actually just called Robot. And he always calls it Robot.
He's a little robot.
I like the idea of having to find a charger that actually matches, because the phone's about to die. Even if it does die, you can bring it back up just by finding the charger. That's pretty much one of the things that you have.
Yeah, and I think that can be one of the drives to explore the camp a bit, basically.
I'm thinking once you charge it up that one and only time, it's now charged.
Yeah.
Like, I think when you pick it up, it's got like 5% battery power, and there's a story trigger that causes it to actually go off.
Yeah, I don't think, unless it's dramatically important, I don't think we need it to continuously run out of batteries.
So, is it kind of like Wet Hot American Summer, in the fact that obviously this is right at the end of camp, as you're walking through camp and
you get like little,
you get to piece together certain events, vignettes of things that happened throughout the camp, and you start almost you almost get to the position where our character isn't necessarily who he's saying that he is.
Oh, okay. He's not even, he doesn't actually own the place. He's just,
he may not, like, he may just be a drifter who happens to.
Oh, I mean, you go the very obvious route, and he's a Jason style,
and he's reliving all his you know,
the very end of the game. The very end of the game is you actually find like the cellar where he dumped all the bodies, and all of the previous little vignettes you've seen start making a bit more sense when you realize that you literally were there and killed them all.
Okay, let's start going through some of the vignettes that you want to see.
I don't know that we actually want to go down the serial killer route.
No.
That's maybe a bit too dark, because I'm feeling this is a bit more of a chill kind of thing. And I mean, you're talking about the vignettes again. That's very Obra Dinn. I don't know if we do a similar sort of thing where you're almost going through a frozen scene, or if it's a looping animated scene, or just a, you know, one through.
I like the idea of a frozen scene of, this is, you know, the thing that's sort of frozen in his memory of, this is the main crux of the thing that happened here.
Yeah.
And one of the scenes that I'm immediately seeing is a kid with a stick who's just knocked down a beehive.
Right.
Or you know, a wasp nest or something like that.
Yeah.
It's hit the ground, it's cracked open, and
get kids sort of running in all directions.
All directions and all that sort of stuff. And I'm really seeing that, you know, that could be a cool scene to sort of walk through, and you can sort of see you know, two counselors on the side having a conversation. And maybe in that scene you see the phone with one of these guys, but you don't know who this guy is. And it's all about going through your memories of trying to piece together who this guy was, and
then figuring out something about, like, clues from his dossier and from notes you find and stuff, to eventually figure out what his lock password would be, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's really cool. So it's called Return to Camp O.D.
Camp O.D.
Camp O.D. It's actually a rehab camp.
Yeah, it's a rehab camp, exactly.
No, I think we do. Yeah, I like the idea of that classic American style summer camp because it's such a cultural touchstone, even for us who
never went to
aren't in America and never went to a summer camp.
Although my sister did go to a summer camp as a counselor in America.
Right. Did you want to dig deeper into the general sort of stories that are going on?
I kind of want to. I want to dig deeper, just because we said first person, so that's a very Obra sort of feel. Are some of the cabins locked up? So you've got to get certain story triggers before they unlock, a la your Obra Dinn and that sort of stuff. So you're not overwhelming yourself with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you gate it in certain ways. I think you. I can't remember because in Obra Dinn it was more. You could only go to certain places after you'd seen certain memories, right?
Basically, as you saw a memory, like a door would unlock, and you'd be able to see the next little bit, and then.
I think we do it as a bit more of a. It's more you have to through a memory. You might find out where the key is to that place. So it's more you're there and having to still physically make your way around this camp. Like you've got your time period that you're in, and it really is these memories. Whereas Obra Dinn, it feels a bit more, it's a bit more mystical in that way because doors are just opening as you travel into
and there's a ghost that sort of goes around and shows you where the next thing is and all that stuff.
I think maybe we do it as a bit more of a deductive kind of thing for the player where, and we could put hints in there in different ways, but where it's more like, you might see a scene outside that locked cabin once you've seen the right combination of scenes that then gives you a clue to where that set of keys is or whatever.
Okay.
Right?
With all the memories that you get, what you have to do is try and piece the timeline together when these things actually happened, because I like the idea of it that you could get a piece from anywhere, but you sort of go, okay, Timmy here has got like lots of band-aids on. This is after he got stung by all the bees, and so therefore, okay, I can place that after there. It's like, oh, he's only got a couple of band-aids on here, so this is after that other one, and it's like, he's got none on here. So this could be at the end, or
it's all around how many band-aids Timmy has. He's just a very accident-prone child. So if he's got the band-aids and his foot is in a cast, then that's after he broke his ankle. And if he's also got a bandage around his arm, that's when he fell on the barbecue. So it's got to be after that. It's just
what I was thinking is, but if he doesn't have any band-aids, that could either be at the very end or at the very start.
Yeah. And you got to find other clues that might not be immediately apparent.
The only reason why I'm going with Timmy's beehive thing is because that's the only vignette that has been offered up so far. Mr. Benjamin Slinger.
Okay, calm down. Well, I mean, it depends on... I mean, is this a standard sort of summer camp, or do we give it a theme? Like, what?
There's barely ever been a summer camp game. What I do like is because the whole thing would be in colour, you can actually sort of see also by the leaves on the trees and that sort of stuff that they're vibrant green, and they towards the end, they may get a little bit.
Well, I mean, I guess that depends on how much you want to.
Depending on
does your entire surrounding change when you see a vignette, or is it again similar to Obra Dinn where it's sort of this specific area that perhaps fills out? I could see some fun shader stuff where you can kind of see the shimmering, or the edges as they
that fades out to nothingness.
Well, or just that it fades into what's actually there in the background. Like you can see where the edge of a vignette is. You can just walk completely out of it if you want, because you're walking around this summer camp anyway.
Yeah.
But what you're actually viewing there is within this particular space.
Yeah, I like the idea of there being a vibrant colour sort of thing, and it gradually fades to black and white as you get outside of the memory.
or at least like desaturated to a certain degree,
to a certain degree. Then when you get out of the memory, when the memory closes,
it comes back to your regular sort of back to your color. But still, I think a bit muted and okay, well, I think then if you're going off some of the classic tropey sort of stuff, you've got to have a couple of scenes down on the lake.
Yes.
Maybe mid a couple of campers jumping into the lake. There's maybe some other people watching. You get, again, like if we're doing the sort of Obra Dinn style thing, you'll get some of the audio, so you might be able to figure out who those people are, so a little bit about the relationships between them. Obviously, there's going to be some romances happening between both, probably the campers. I think we go like, I don't know.
Teens.
Well, I think it's teens. It's talking like 10-year-olds.
No. It's very much the wet hot American summer thing.
Whereas 40-year-olds playing teens,
which is freaking hilarious.
Yeah,
and then when they come back and do the second
sequel
in 20 years, they're
or the prequel.
It's earlier. Yes. It's earlier in the same summer.
I love that. Yeah, so I think you're essentially got like 15-year-old ish campers and like 18-year-old
counselors,
19-year-old counselors. So
I don't really want anything between the campers and the counselors.
No, I don't think we play with that. But I think you've got romances happening on both sides.
Yeah,
for sure. And then definitely like some pranks coming on. Maybe you see Suds running out of the showers with everybody laughing at him, and then now he's a suspicious kind of one then, because he's going to want to get some sort of revenge, or like what happened after that. But that also gives you a clue, like if someone's calling him Suds, then it's going to be after that event.
Okay, so then the phone comes back into it that after you see X number of memories and you're sort of focused, then you get a phone call, and you get to talk to the person on the other end, and they're looking for their phone.
Yep.
And when you tell them where you were, they go quiet.
Oh.
And hang up. And so after you tell them where you found it and that sort of stuff, things get a little bit suspicious. And after you get that phone call, then some of the next few memories that you see, you start noticing someone in the background talking to like the nurse or a counselor. It's all about the kids again, and the good memories that you're sort of seeing.
I do like the idea that there's one person that you just cannot identify.
Yeah, and like it's a story like the spooky camp story, and everyone's sort of doing marshmallows around the campfire. There's a song going on with someone playing on a guitar, but then in the woods in the background, you can actually see a shadowy figure just watching over everyone. And it's sort of like, are we playing around with, this is our character, or is our person now somewhat of an unreliable narrator? Because I like the idea of he's going back through his own memories of stuff that's happened at camp. He picks up like a towel off the down at the lake house, and he remembers when that towel got dropped and all the kids were out jumping in the lake and all this sort of stuff, and it's all about the objects that he sort of picks up. But then after he has this phone call, the memories are tainted now with what he's sort of thinking, was there someone sort of in the background?
Yeah.
And I like the idea of it sort of going into that slight horror thing, kind of like what Obra Dinn did, where you kind of felt like, when's it coming? When's the horror actually coming? And then it never actually really comes, even though...
Yeah, I mean, there's sort of a Gone Home-ish thing about that as well, of kind of hinting towards the horror, but having it end up being innocent.
Because I think what happens around the phone call is that's when it's turning into nighttime. So
right, yeah.
Because of that, now you've got limited lights and all this sort of stuff. And every memory that you go through, including the older ones, actually now have this character in it.
Oh, even if you go back, you see them there now.
Yes.
That's creepy.
But the idea being that when you finally get to the end of the game, you realize that it's just been a new memory. It's just been, your mind playing tricks on you.
Right.
Through these things, but it's
through these memories. Well, I was also thinking to play on that, and after the phone call where they like hang up about, when they hear where you found the phone and stuff, that maybe you sort of prompt the player to go back where you found the phone. Like maybe there are more clues there, and you like see dirt that's been disturbed or something like that. You start really like playing into, did something happen here? Like, was there a murder that was covered up or whatever? But it's the guy who played the prank on Suds, and he like buried his clothes there or something. Like, it's something. It's something
innocuous, but
yeah.
There's just so much that you could do there, but having that unreliable narrator thing, you're alone. You're the only one at a summer camp. It's now night.
Well, yeah, I really like that. I really like tying it into the time of day, that essentially this all happens over the course of a day and a bit. So I think you find it, whether it's late night or early morning, because we wanted it to be dark when you first find the phone. One night, you have that next day is when you spend most of the time.
Just as you open your eyes, it's like pre-dawn, because when you pick up the phone and you look out, that's when the sun's just cracking over. Yeah, cracking.
I think so, because then you're spending a bunch of time during the day unlocking a lot of these memories, finding stuff that's going on. It's all bright and sunny, and then as it starts getting darker, the memories sort of start feeling more
oppressive.
Yeah, but then again, as the sun comes up the next morning, you tie that into...
Wouldn't it be cool if the memories that you actually see come a little bit more claustrophobic and actually just perceptible enough that if you actually walked it out, the distance between the people is just shrunk a little bit.
Right, so the same memories.
The same memory, but it's just shrunk down a little bit, and people are just a little bit closer. And it kind of
you just like slightly change the expressions on their faces,
and you literally like, am I going crazy? Like, I swear, like, it took me 2 beats of audio steps to walk between these 2 people before.
Yeah.
Now it's taking me 1. Like.
And that's the sort of thing that's really fun to play with, because they can't directly compare, right? Because it's keyed to what time they're viewing it, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be... Especially if you're making them... Especially if you want them to go back between memories to put things into a new context as they've, like, found other clues. I like that, yeah. Man, that's a good start to our episode.
Yeah.
By which really I mean half the episode.
Half the fucking episode.
That's great.
Okay. He does get the lock screen code. And
of course.
I think you kind of work out at one point that it's like everything is to do with like a certain cabin number.
Mm-hmm.
That you're pretty much following the stories of all these people from the cabin, from this one cabin.
Yeah.
That it's sort of like, maybe if I try the cabin number, which is, blah, 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 that you sort of piece it together, that you can unlock
as long as you don't let them do it too early, because you'd want to, you probably, if we're really relying on sort of misleading clues and stuff, I wonder if you'd want it be like, oh, it's cabin 13, but there's some other significant number that like comes into it, like the jersey number from the big game of flag football or whatever they played. Is that something? I don't know. That feels like a thing they play at American summer camps.
Capture the flag. Yeah. I love it. So when are we getting going on this? Are we going to stream this as well, or stream our development of it?
Our development of this game? I'm not sure we should do that, as our first game feels kind of ambitious, but it's a fucking great idea.
Yep.
All right. 3, 2, 1, click. Let's move on.
Jesus Christ! I don't want to click on. I like it too much.
Scratched reward.
Unpredictable vicar.
Oh! Unpredictable vicar. Aren't they all?
He smokes, he drinks, and...
Bad vicar? Yeah.
He's unpredictable. You never know what he's going to do.
So, I mean, vicar is a very English term.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we have to set it in England.
Yes.
I guess at a parish of some sort or around like a small town that has a church.
Mm-hmm.
Scratched and reward, given the physical lock thing we're going on, made me think that there is something that is locked away.
I'm getting a kind of supernatural vibe of this vicar is actually, he's drinking and all this sort of stuff because he knows the horrors.
The Holy Grail or something.
He knows the horrors that are locked away in this parish.
Okay. Oh, so maybe the scratches are from
when you finally get inside this locked door, there's scratches
on the
all
inside.
over the room from the inside, and the door's busted open from the inside.
Mm-hmm. Okay. To avoid going down the very strict narrative path that we often do,
mm-hmm.
as much as I enjoy a deep dive into a narrative, is this more the setup for some sort of maybe Hades-like roguelike where you are descending into whatever is beneath this parish?
Mm-hmm.
And sort of as you go discovering the secrets of what happened here and what created these kind of demonic and traumatic maybe in a bit of a Hades / Binding of Isaac way, where a lot of the things down there are thematically linked to some of the goings on in this town.
I can almost see, some boyfriend dungeon sort of coming in here as well with the idea of, what's in your mind, what's in...
Yeah, so, yeah, I kind of picture
Does
each
something
run.
bust out of here, or do you sort of, like... I like the idea that, the vicar is just... He's a drunk and all this sort of stuff because he sort of... He understands all the all the stuff that has been going on. There's nothing like untoward going on. And
No. I don't. Yeah, I don't think we go down the.
And the vicar isn't the main character. He's just a side character who is kind of like your guide to the first level sort of thing. He goes.
I think he's essentially
through there.
one of. Yeah, exactly. I think. Maybe he's, well, and this is, I guess we need to figure out where our character comes into this. Are they a, roaming demon hunter that has been called here, or is it someone from the town who has taken it upon themselves in a Slayer-ish way to tackle this?
I do like a monster hunter that comes along, that basically there's lots of bad things that happen in this town, and the monster hunter... Basically, everyone sort of comes in to attack this one dungeon, as it were, but things change up quite considerably.
Or maybe maybe the very first level, and in the very roguelike way, we could have it that you come in all powerful, well, with a ton of different stuff. The town is overrun by creatures.
Yep.
And you just wipe the floor with them until you get to the parish, at which point, something huge, comes out. Maybe not even the whole thing, maybe just, a giant tentacle or a giant hand or something comes out of the cellar door of this parish and just, wipes you out. You're dead. But, and this is how we bring in the roguelike sort of thing, somehow you are resurrected. I don't think that's you. I don't think that's the monster hunter that had this. Is this something about this place allows you to come back? And so again, in that very Hades-like way, we could have a sort of continual story between runs where you come back and the vicar's like, oh yeah, that'll happen. I'm actually 500 years old or whatever, like something like that. But the way he's dealing with it is just by drinking himself. Mm-hmm. He's overdosed 5 times and he just keeps finding himself back here.
So is the first level always going through the town?
No, I think...
Because I kind of like the idea of an isometric sort of, or not, a high view third person sort of camera where you're traveling through the town, you're trying to find the source of this evil, and the parish kind of moves around. Like it's not always in the same
what
position.
I was sort of thinking is that first level is almost just your introduction for the very first time you play or when you start a new profile. So that after that point, you can use the town as your like between run. Again, like obviously taking a lot of inspiration from Hades. Like you've got different townspeople that you can maybe talk to, buy stuff from. Like they're rebuilding almost as you go through as well.
So when you come back, are you just on the street straight outside the parish?
I think so. Yeah, basically, or maybe you like burst out of a grave or something in the cemetery behind it. I don't know.
I know. I kind of like the idea that you wake up on a park bench and it's just you sit up and you're like, whew, you have a look at the newspaper and it's like a day later or whatever, and it's So each time that you die, the date's just going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you can have some like speed runs on like how can you do it in the first day or whatever. Because obviously you need to have unlocked. Yeah, you have unlocks and there's the usual sort of roguelike stuff. To make
when you get to the 30th of June, because it starts on say the 23rd of June, and then when you get to the 30th of June, Tanya turns up and she's now like a shopkeeper that can sell you these cool weapons, but she doesn't turn up.
Well, or you could even have things like after a week or two, other monster hunters have heard about it and start showing up, and they become playable characters. Like they become selectable characters. Or like someone in the town, like a young, 16-year-old girl just sees you doing this and you're talking to her and stuff, and she decides she wants to take up the mantle as well and be a monster hunter, and it's like, oh, now she's a playable character. You can run through the dungeons with her.
Which is very, Neon Abyss and a lot of the other sort of...
Yeah, unlock new characters as you go. I mean, Binding of Isaac as well. And
when you get down there, are the levels kind of Diablo-esque hack and slash?
Yeah, I think so. I think along those sort
thematic
of lines.
For each level as you go down a little
as
bit
you
further.
descend. Yeah.
To the point that the blood dripping down the walls in the second level, you think that's as bad as it's going to get, and then you end up in this other level and it's like, okay, it just looks like it's a cellar. And then
and then you get down to level 5 and it's like a mall.
An office building or, mall.
Yeah. That'd be interesting, actually, having those. You could really... And maybe some of those are keyed to the characters. Like their particular storylines.
Level 5 is that...
It's always your greatest fear or your... Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, which is very Boyfriend Dungeon again, but I like the idea of each level is totally different, somewhat predictable until you get to that level. We don't go the Binding of Isaac, like super amounts of poop everywhere. Like
no. I think we can. I mean, you'd bring on an art director and they'd figure out all the good stuff. But
I like the idea of basing, say, levels 3 through 8 or whatever it is. Hang on, how many circles of hell are there? Basically, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
3 through whatever are just the circles of hell. Like,
yeah, you could do some of that. I mean, I think you can pull from all sorts of inspirations. I like the idea of whatever level it ends up being their greatest fear, because then that can also be a trigger point for, like, mechanically, once you get each of those, once you get that particular player past their level 5, it opens up some more story. It opens up some more unlocks and mechanics that a new attack or something or whatever for that character. And you could even continue doing that. It's like, and then if you get to level 10, it's like, now you have to destroy the thing you love the most or something. Like it's a mind fuck situation.
I like the idea of not all townspeople are on your side, so you got to actually persuade some of them that you're here to help them out. You're not just here for fame and glory and all this sort of stuff. Especially once you die, you're trapped here now with them. Because I like the idea that they're all trapped here and they all just want to die.
Right, so they've all come back as well. They were all killed in the original massacre, and maybe they've been slowly coming back at different times.
And it's just something about this. And when you get to a certain point and you beat the game, maybe some of the townspeople are freed.
I like going down. This could be an interesting route there once you've killed the big bad that has actually cursed this town, you can continue doing runs. But if you let anything escape from the dungeon, now the townspeople can die, and this time they'd perma-die. So there's almost a prestige level of once you've beaten it, how far can you get before everyone in the town is dead?
Or taken over. Because I like the idea that you go to the pub and you go to, buy the health packs that you normally go and get, which is literally just a bottle of vodka or something like that. But we don't call it that.
A pint.
It looks like a bottle of water.
It's an English pub. It'll just be a pint, won't it?
Yeah. But I could just imagine that, they kind of have like a red glint in their eye or something like that, and you can tell that they're not quite the same, and all of a sudden their prices have gone up. And
I love their prices going up as a factor of them being demonically possessed. Capitalism. No, I like that actually. That maybe gives it a bit more longevity than, yes, you've got that prestige level after beating it for the first time. But essentially it means that, places in the town might get taken over, and then you have to do, an additional level or an additional run or something to, bring that place back. And you can't buy your health packs until you do. Or, yes, they cost more or whatever.
I think at one stage you find out that one of the people is, a double agent or a spy sort of character, kind of taken over, and it happens earlier on in the game before you beat it. And if you happen to call them out on it, you can actually get some extra intel. If you sort of work it out, you get some intel for, on this level, watch out for this. If you find something that looks like this, there's a secret passage there, and you'll find a more powerful weapon. And it's just
well, that'll work well as people who are, because obviously you're going to get some people who come in. Or they've played it before and they start a new profile and they beat the big bad on the first run. But yes, something like that gives you the opportunity for, someone playing through it a bit more traditionally, maybe they're going to take 10, 20, 30 runs even before they beat it. You can give
Have you seen me play Binding of Isaac? Talk, a couple more hundred? I don't think I've even finished it yet.
Whatever it was. Again, I'm very much on the Hades thing because I've been playing that lately. I got 2 wins in a row. I now have a streak of 2.
Nice.
For the first time ever.
I haven't played it for a while. I still don't have a win in that game, but
it's worth jumping back into. It's a good. That's my go-to. Listen to podcasts and play a Twitch hack and slash game.
Cool.
And I still haven't unlocked everything. So.
Wow, I would have thought that you would have by now.
There's so many. There's different aspects of all your weapons and stuff that you need more Titan blood to unlock. All sorts of stuff. Yeah, that's cool. I think there's a lot of depth there as a roguelike.
Mm-hmm.
Which that pattern kind of just works well, but yeah, that's a fun one.
I'm picturing as you go down big locks that you see everywhere, and obviously they're the locks to the boss on each level, and you got to find the big key.
Yeah, we can bring locks. It could be thematically locks everywhere as you unlock stuff as you do in roguelikes. And I think you get some character progression with the vicar as well.
Yeah.
As you clear things, or especially once you've defeated the big bad,
you unlock new conversation conversation options.
Well, yeah, and I think he just starts to recover, and he's like not drinking as much, and you can actually have a conversation with him. Yeah, drunken Vic is always comedy.
3, 2, 1, click.
Mm-hmm. All right, flip battery.
Inherent distress.
So this is actually the same as our first game, but it's a flip phone. And it is locked with a physical lock. Flip battery. And what were yours?
Inherent distress.
Inherent distress. Or distressed.
Distress. Singular.
Okay. I feel like there's definitely something here. Some sort of is it some sort of robot circus robot doing flips?
It's that little yapping dog that yep, flip.
Or like is this a robot that's sent into collapsed buildings to like clear the way and save people, and this is where the distress comes in.
Ooh, if you actually played a game where you were the robot going in and clearing out.
Or is it one of those games where you're doing some simple programming of robots, having to like send them through?
Well, the reason why I was sort of going through like the savior sort of thing is like one of the games that's been going around recently is like the Power Wash Simulator and all this sort of stuff. People like those games that you're sitting there able to do simple things. You know, clearing out rubble to get to someone, you know,
right.
could be
systematically.
Okay, if I grab from the top, you know, I'm not going to cause the whole thing to fall.
That could be interesting because you could have like a scan that tells you sort of what stresses are on different parts of the structure.
Yeah.
So that you know, like if I pull that out, that's going to come down. So let's not do that. I have to find a way up there first, clear that first. Yeah, that could be interesting. Is there a time pressure on it still?
I like the idea that it's not time pressured in the fact that, you know, these people who, you know, may be trapped in a building or whatever.
You have to like bring them sustenance.
I'm thinking that, you know, they've been found as you're sort of going and helping them out.
So okay, they're found at the start, and then you're like
you're brought in to do the clearing out.
Right.
Maybe the part that you need to be sure of is that you're not going to let it collapse on top of them, and that's your only pressure. That
yeah. Okay. That's interesting. I feel like there's an interesting gameplay loop there.
Mm-hmm.
It would be kind of fun to bring in, and it could almost be optional, but some narrative or some world building stuff. That as you are clearing these things out, you find things in the rubble that kind of point towards
newspaper clippings, scrapbooks.
Yeah, like toys, you know, and I think you've got different levels, right? Like, so, and you could maybe start bringing in relationships, like relations between those levels, like they connect up in certain ways if you're looking for the right things.
Ooh, they're all insured by the same insurance company.
Ooh, yeah, you're definitely uncovering some like shifty insurance stuff. Yeah, that's a good idea. And I think as you go through levels, you get new tools, you get laser
you're rewarded for exploration because you know, sometimes you may actually find you don't have to clear away all that rubble. You can actually cut a hole in this wall, and that'll actually give you access to like an easier
Yep.
sort of thing. But the thing is, if you cut the wrong part of the wall and you cut a load-bearing beam, you can bring
the whole thing down
on top of you, and then you have to go in as the new robot.
You have to go in as 2.0 and save yourself.
Well, no,
bring yourself out. Oh, not save yourself, but like extract the remains of the previous one,
or at least the memory chip.
I guess it depends on how much of a simulation we could put in place here, right? Like how
good the destruction
can be, that it's not just, oh, everything came down the end. It's like, oh no, this section collapsed. You've made it harder on yourself, but the systems are good enough that still might be ways through this. But it's still it's physical based. It's not.
You brought down the entire building on this person. They did not survive. That was on you.
Well, yes, but can you get the memory chip from that robot back? It was very expensive.
But can you find the newspaper clipping that was beside their body? Because that explains the entire thing. Oh, you couldn't? Oh, well, you don't learn it now.
Yeah. No, that's what I said. I think it's almost completely optional as you go through these. It's more around that methodical puzzling, almost a bit like Shipbreaker. Right? Where you got... Did you ever end up playing that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where, again, it's... And, I mean, that's a bit easier because it's in zero gravity, but you've essentially got these systems-based things where you can...
As far as I'm concerned...
this connection thing and...
As far as I'm concerned, our robot can have extendo arms. It can have... can shorten itself right down so it can...
Oh, yeah. You can bring in a lot of stuff. And you could have things like... And again, taking sort of some inspiration from Shipbreaker, limited numbers of like supports that you can put in place. It's like, okay, if I support this up, then I can cut through here, knowing that that's not going to fall, which gives me time to come over here, relieve the pressure on it, and then I can take it back if I need to, and reuse it. And you can buy more of them, or you get more of them over time, or better ones that you can put in place and then like jack up to like actually move stuff on top of it. And yeah.
So why is this insurance company involved in a scam to like knock down all these buildings? Or is it someone who doesn't like this insurance company and is
it the company who's building these robots and needs ways to prove that they're useful and valuable?
Or is it all three?
And all three of them are under the same umbrella company.
Umbrella Corp.
Amazon.
I was going to go Umbrella Corp because then you could bring in Resident Evil and it's like...
then it just... One of the levels...
It's all T-virus stuff. Like
one of the levels, you find just a whole bunch of crushed zombies.
It's like, oh, cool.
And that was the whole thing. Like, it stopped the infection right there.
It's like you go into the mansion and it's like it's all brought down, and you go in there and it's like, oh, Jill Valentine, I can get you out of there. It's like, what happened? She goes, all these zombies came, but then the whole mansion fell and they all seem to be dead. It's like,
yeah, I think we're good.
They're like, cool.
Yeah, the little robot gives a thumbs up, just like a little what's his name? Star Wars round guy.
BB-8.
No, his name's Star Wars round guy. All right, 3, 2, 1,
3, 2, 1, click. For potentially our last one.
Oh, I think probably.
Where were the locks in the last game? If you explore, there's some lock cages.
There are going to be some locked doors, yeah, that you have to get through with your laser cutter. Recreational ozone.
Believable ritual.
So you are performing a ritual to close the hole in the ozone layer. Environmental occultists.
Say something that's actually believable.
Climate change.
I said believable.
Today is the day that we find out Trevor is a climate change denialist.
Yeah, I'm not.
No.
I'm not even going to improvise that. Like, that's just...
I'm actually a climate denialist. I don't believe in climate. It's not... Someone made that word
You
up.
didn't say anything when we went through that whole game about the seasons before. Like...
That's weather. That's not climate.
That's not climate.
Yeah. Okay. Ozone.
Click again. Greedy Fortnite.
Pilot support.
Mm-hmm. So it's the game Fortnite, and it's got lots of microtransactions, and that brings in the greedy Fortnite thing. What were yours?
Pilot support. You play the pilot of... Is it a bus or something?
Oh, it's a new season.
Whatever
it's just the pilot for it. Like, it's they're trialing a new season. A new fortnight of season. A new season of Fortnite. Yep. And you're in the pilot program.
So this isn't actually a game, it's just like a marketing scheme for Epic?
No, I think this is actually a visual novel.
Okay. A meta novel?
Mm-hmm. Where you actually learn, the secrets behind Fortnite's success
of Fortnite.
And all this sort of stuff. And then you can make lots of money out of it because you know where the whole story's going. Click again. Because Jesus Christ.
Adequate pink.
Slim acquisition. Yeah.
Adequate pink.
So 100%, this character's name, our main character's name is Slim Acquisition.
Oh, I was going to go with Slim Pink. Slim Pinkman.
Director of Acquisition.
Slim Pinkman, Director of Acquisitions at Adacorp. Adequate Corp.
Adacorp.
It's really... He came up with that as well, and nobody likes it except him.
Okay, what do they acquire? What is acquisitions in this world for Slim Pinkman?
I mean, is it other companies like, are you a large conglomerate?
I like the idea
coming in and engulfing.
Have you seen the TV series Warehouse 13?
I know of it vaguely.
Have you seen the series Friday the 13th, the TV series?
No.
Okay. It's all about acquiring mystical artifacts.
Artifacts or some kind? Yeah, okay.
That, are totally kind of fucked up.
Okay.
Because I like the idea
That's
of
cool.
going down this idea of...
a corporation that's,
trying
gathering.
to acquire all the mystical artifacts in the world, basically. What they're planning to do with those things, we don't know. But effectively, it's a book that you can't put down. Like, if you start reading it, you can't put it down, and it's...
Wait, is that one of the objects?
No, that's what I'm thinking.
Right. I thought you were saying that the game is like a book you can't put down because you just keep going.
It is. But no, one of the objects is a book that you can't put down. And
they're collecting SCPs.
you go into this room, and this person is literally, they haven't eaten, they haven't drunk anything, they're all emaciated and all this sort of stuff, but they can't finish
reading this book
down.
Yeah,
when they
finish,
finish,
really long book.
Well, when they finish the book, they just turn back to the first page
again.
and start again.
Yeah, that feels SCP-ish. Are you across SCP?
Are you down with SCP?
Are you down with
you know me.
SCP,
OPP.
Insane Clown Posse? No, SCP is, I think it stands for Standard Containment Protocol or something, but it essentially started as a wiki where people were creating these pages on different artifacts, different creatures and things that had been found, but it slowly became this this whole thing where it's this one like organization that's collecting them all, and there's all sort of stories that are intertwining with them. And because anyone could write them, like there's a whole lot of shit ones, but there's some that are really like super creepy and super interesting to read. Anyway, it would relate to that in some way. But yes, I think collecting these artifacts, but again, they're collecting them for profit. It's in this really like cynical way where they're like, oh, we could use that.
So was Slim Pinkman, he was one of the people who started this company, right? But then left his job as CEO and decided to like...
Because he wants to be more of an Indiana Jones type hunter of...
Either Indiana Jones or, he just didn't like the whole way that...
schmoozing and corporate lifestyle.
Or he tried to go undercover boss.
No, well, I kind of like the idea of making it a bit of an action adventure-y sort of thing where you are out there looking for these things. Other people obviously are looking for them too. There are rival corporations. But it is this very corporate thing. Like, we created this very cynical thing. Your character is not particularly likable. I mean, maybe they're like... Maybe the reason they did this is because they're pushing back against the morals of what their company has become, but they're also still doing it. And you can have like in between levels and stuff that are, within your big corporate building or whatever, and finding out a bit more about the history of the company and the other, employees and who the CEO is now, who is a complete, profit monger, nothing else matters. We're going to utilize these things, sell them to the highest bidder, no matter what we think they might, do with them.
You said no, nothing else matters, and it immediately brought me to the soundtrack. Now, okay. I think we need like some heavy metal in here, like from all walks of life, sort of thing. I'm thinking that when you sort of go up against some of the artifacts, it's, sometimes it's going to get hairy out there, or it's just, could you imagine you walk into a room and there's these guys possessed, and it's like you start hearing this whispering of "Let the bodies hit the floor, let the bodies hit the floor," and it's like. Yeah, it's like...
That'd be good, actually. I feel like there's not enough heavy metal in games these days. Although you did say, like, bringing it in from all walks of life, so I think also some Dire Straits. You do the walk, you do the walk of life. Maybe that's like the end credits. A bit more chill.
Well, I'm now picturing that, kind of like Supernatural. You have that pretty cool soundtrack of you're in your car, you're driving with your new partner or whatever, and you can basically turn on the radio and it's like some pretty cool tracks. You sort of see the opening credits going with this stuff.
Yeah.
And you break into this room, and then you see what can really happen with these things. It's like,
yeah.
It's dark.
Well, I think that actually brought to mind that maybe we structure this episodically in a very Alan Wake style way. I think, did Alan Wake do that? Where it's kind of episodes of a TV show? I think so.
I think the second Alan Wake game did that. The first one...
there was that Alone in the Dark game that did it too.
Yeah.
Anyway. Where essentially like you almost have these little self-contained sections. And the whole game has like, I don't know,
I mean,
5 or 6
technically this is kind of what Control was all about anyway. Like,
well, Control, I think, I was going to bring that up because I think Control was actually very SCP inspired as well.
Yeah.
But I think you go a bit less... of like the whole
use those things
building is in use and like really like things shifting and changing, and more of just like
this is across the world you are finding these artifacts, and maybe a la Alan Wake gets a little bit of a callback to something that happens in Control, you can sort of do a little bit of a nod to, oh, we're going up against the company that,
right? Yeah, whatever that corp was in Control. Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, it feels like a very Remedy sort of game that they could.
Yeah.
Make Remedy, right?
But I do like the idea of you're not taking on the abilities yourself, so you're not flying around and doing all this crazy shit. You're sort of Indiana Jonesing / Tomb Raidering it round that, all this artifacts being found in the jungle, make your way down into the Amazon.
Yeah,
and
yeah, I think you've got a Uncharted / Tomb Raider kind of vibe to a lot of the levels of exploring these grand places and like other coming up against other companies or who are maybe trying to also get it, or the Indiana Jones or Lara Croft type who's like trying to put it back in a museum.
This belongs in a museum. It's like,
this belongs in a museum. And
it really doesn't.
Yeah. You don't understand the power of it. They're just a real like bumbling Indiana Jones who, the Indiana Jones who when they came across the fucking Holy Grail or the Ark of the Covenant would have just opened it immediately.
In fact, they do.
They do. That's one of the scenes.
His face just melts straight off and is like, oh, shit.
Then you've got this huge escape, sequence of trying to get out of this place as the fucking Ark of the Covenant just like pulls everything in and around it.
Pulls this entire temple down around it.
Yeah, totally. Love it.
Yeah, I really love that idea of just, playing around with that. The locks come in because...
Oh, fuck. Forgot about our constraints. I mean, some of the boxes, some of them come in boxes that are locked.
Yeah.
People want to lock these things away.
Well,
it's not much of a constraint when we have to throw it on our end.
At a corp, they lock everything away at the end. Like each time it comes in, they go, "Thank you very much," and puts the key in his desk. So one of the things is that you got to try and get that key, and sort of sneak
or eventually like
you
you overthrow the company again, or like you have a hostile takeover or take back or whatever. Because you've decided, no, this stuff just has to be locked away for good and not like resold for profit.
Yeah. One of the things that you get to do is effectively go to that massive warehouse from Indiana Jones with all the like crates that aren't marked anything and all this sort of stuff.
Yep.
And that's pretty much
and a big ring of keys. It's like, wait, does this one go here?
Nope, not that one. Nope. It's a mini game, and if you get it really close, it's like, yeah, it's opened. It's like it opens in one key compared to if you get a little bit off, it's like 2 or 3. If you get it way off,
yeah, you can just keep
35 keys later.
35 keys later. Okay. On that note, I think we will lock this episode up. If you want to find us online, you can go to podchaser.com/bitstorm. Check out all of our previous episodes. We're coming up on number 250.
In 2 episodes. Wow.
There's a whole lot of backlog there that you can enjoy. Run back through it. Leave us some reviews if you like it. Even if it's a 4-year-old episode, we still love to see them. Check them out.
We'd also like to thank Kurodas for allowing us to use the song Mount Defiance off the album Containment Failure for our opener and closer each and every week.
That's right. So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott. And I'm Slim Pinkman, CEO and founder of Adacorp.